spiritual empowerment. This series offers nourishment for those on a path of increased awareness at this challenging time. Inspired by higher sources of wisdom, Chronicles of Hope delivers messages to lift your spirit with a roadmap of hope and guidelines for living a life of expanded consciousness. The guides offer powerful insight for mental, emotional, and spiritual growth at this critical tipping point for humanity. The message is clear. We must change. We have the power to raise our vibrational energy individually and collectively before it's too late. I am Lois Herman, author of the best-selling Chronicles of Hope series and host of the Inspiring Hope radio show at WSMN.live or 95.3 FM. You can find me at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today we share a discussion on the 6th session from Chronicles of Hope, the collective book 2. Christine and Kathy are with me again to share their thoughts and insights on how to apply the messages from the spirit of Mother Gaia. Her messages for humanity are critically important, and we must heed her cautions. One of the important teachings from Gaia is that we must be more aware of what we are doing to ourselves and our world today, and make choices based on what is best for future generations. As I've said many times, if we each do what we can in our own small way, we can make a difference. And much has happened in our world since the session we had with Gaia over 3 years ago. I wrote the reflections for her chapter while we were starting the journey with COVID, and as I reflect on them now, they seem to be from a distant time that we may never return to. And instead of the crisis being 50 years into the future, we're now living in the world of Gaia's concerns. We must pay attention and learn from what has happened over the centuries of human neglect and abuse. We appreciate the value of the beauty of nature and must increase our energy through all things connected with Gaia. She's even visited us in our Lightworker gatherings, encouraging us to call on her for assistance in the energy work we do. She expressed that we are of her bones, and she is indeed our energetic mother. Though we often pray for inspiration from our higher power, from God, from our archangels, from Jesus, we ground with the intense energy of our beloved Earth Mother. Even our heartbeats are matched, which is why Native American drumming is so grounding for humans. Our angelic team, our Lightworker team, has long worked with the angelic realm and have started calling on the grounding energy of Gaia for balancing chakras and energy healing for auras. When we open our hearts and minds to learn, our lives can change in an instant. We invite you to listen to our discussion with open hearts and minds as my dear friends and colleagues share their thoughts on what we can do to help shift the energy around us. Based on the insight we've learned from Gaia, we honor her and each other with the intention that our day be filled with hope, peace, and joy, and we can heal the world. And if you get a chance, definitely check out the YouTube video by Michael Jackson called Heal the World. It'll touch your heart. Oh my goodness, it's powerful. And today I would like to honor those with the courage, the dedication, and the tenacity to step up and speak out to help heal our world. I'm ever impressed by those who risk so much to help people wake up to the reality of what's going on. On the show with me today are two dear friends and colleagues who have risen to the challenge to be here through much adversity. Kathy's been sick in bed for 3 weeks, only to find herself cleaning out her basement from a devastating flash flood these past 2 weeks. And she's here with us to share her thoughts. And then beloved Christine is here in the studio, having arrived, a few hours ago from California, where she was taking care of her 87-year-old mother and is it 97-year-old stepfather?
Yeah, exactly.
I bet you don't even know what time of day it is.
No, I'm confused.
The difference in the weather, right? So these two amazing friends are shining examples of the dedicated people who are focused on what needs to be done to heal the world and make it a better place. Thank you each so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us, too. It is a privilege to be able to. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Kathy.
Yeah.
You're here with us even though you're in New York.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to discuss the concerns that Gaia shared in her messages. And we've often shared this through our conversations. And you guys know when I wrote the reflections, it's basically 18 months ago.
Right.
The COVID lockdowns had just started. And oh my gosh, we've experienced so much drama and trauma since then. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And some of us have chosen to look beyond the illusion and delve into the reality of what's really going on in our world and wake up. So we can do what we can to make a difference. So Mother Gaia warned us so much in her session. And it's interesting how when we re-listen to her session, which was recorded last week, it makes so much more sense even now.
Right.
So Christine, where would you like to start?
Well, I guess from my personal perspective, I'd like to say that until I read Chronicles of Book 2, I had never really known Mother Gaia. I had not really connected. And so reading that message, and every time I reread it or look at it, I get more. I understand it better. And like you say, today it's so much more prevalent. But once I started understanding that our earth is blessed with a spirit that is here, that she's here to protect all who live on our planet, not just the humans, but all of the species, all of the living matter, all of the what we consider non-living matter. But this is her. We're all her children, and once you start understanding that, then you do understand what I liked when you had in the highlights is talking about my consciousness is not an individual thing. It's the sum of the consciousness of all things on the planet, all living things, not just human. Everything that lives is part of me. It really helps you to understand that web concept of we're all interconnected. When we do something, it has a rippling effect, whether it's positive or negative. And if so, getting the message of understanding that what we do makes such a difference, even though we tend to think of our actions as being insignificant in some way because it's just one little person. But one little person can have huge effects on how we treat the species who are living in here, how we are with the animals that we do, just having respect and understanding more. So I feel more connected to Mother Gaia on a daily basis, to the point where in some of my meditations, I'm actually getting messages that I really feel are from Mother Gaia and know it. And it's very interesting. It's a different communication than when I'm hearing from my guides or from Jesus or, so I do give great gratitude that she was one of the ones who came and spoke and that you were recording it all, because it brought me to a different level of awareness.
Right.
Right.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
and yes, it is like a different wake up call, relating to
Right.
nature differently.
Right.
We're often told, oh, listen to the sounds of nature, watch a sunset or a sunrise, look at the
Right.
birds. But it's really connecting with them that makes a difference. And it's
Right.
not just the outside, it's our pets.
Right.
Our pets are part of the web of life.
Right.
So, Kathy, what are your first thoughts on the Gaia session? Well, I'd love to hear from you.
My first thoughts are it's kind of a new old connection for me because I never, I always thought about Mother Earth, it forced me to think about things in a different way. I remember being a child and just laying on the ground and looking up and watching the clouds and just being in such a peaceful place, not just because I was a little kid, but because you could feel and be at one with that vibe. And then, we grow up and we put our shoes on and don't pay a whole lot of attention after that. I walk by the lake every day, as you know, and it takes my breath away every morning that there's something beautiful, even if it's not the nicest day. Mm-hmm. And, she is calling out, saying, help me. Mm-hmm. And we all have to answer the call because if something happens to the earth, where will we live?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of what she said, we're going through the highlights in the book. We went through the process of kind of highlighting her information. And for those of you who are unaware, Kathy and Christine and I meet with other people on a regular basis through our Inspiring Hope community, and we go through the highlights. So this is a tool that we have so that we can discuss these. So we have lots. Mother Gaia's, her highlight section is pretty thick, so there's a lot to share. But one of the things that, jumping ahead in that, she said is, yes, I need your help, but but I can heal myself if you just let me. If you stop giving me the toxic chemicals, if you just do what you can, I can heal the earth. Yeah. So I loved what she said about her consciousness is the sum of all living things, all living things, which means the consciousness of I'm going to go back to our pets because we've done clearing on our pets before. Right. If we're upset, our pets feel it.
Yeah.
They are our little barometers, and then that icky energy sticks with them. So, and then of course, if they're feeling it, the plants in our house are feeling it. It is, when you really stop and think about that, we are all energy. Right. That the energy we give off is connected to the energy in our environment, and then it ripples out.
Yeah.
So
that's very true.
Yes.
And so she's probably feeling the fear that's being thrown out there. And fear is a sickness. It is a disease. Right. And I think that is the most prevalent disease on this planet right now, is the disease of fear. And she's feeling it.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I believe not only is she feeling it, but like you're saying, I think our entire planet is feeling it, because the fear is a frequency that is going out across. And it's, you have to work so hard to not get brought back down into that level again, and just keep holding. Each individual person can look at where they're at and say, I'm not buying into it. I'm not going to go into the fear mode, and holding that frequency up. And then it has that reciprocal effect with our pets, where they then feel the good energy, the higher frequency, the plants in the house, and the people who we just pass on the street.
Right.
It doesn't have to be all of our friends and loved ones. It can be the people that we just go by or see in a grocery store or give a smile to, because that frequency of love and compassion and the higher vibe does come across to other people. and animals and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems with the face muzzles.
Right.
Is that, giving a smile. A child will smile
Yeah.
right back at you, and then they'll hide
Yeah.
behind mama. Like,
Yeah.
oh, was I supposed to smile at that lady? I did an exercise once based on a little book that I read called "God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days," and you were to see how many people in a day you could smile at. And I was traveling that day, and I would smile at the children especially, and they would always smile right back. And
Right.
but again, when you smile at someone, you're sending a vibe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with these face things on,
Right.
it's terrible how it breaks. It takes away the smiles.
Yeah.
It makes everyone sad.
Yes.
Well, this
does.
game of let's pretend is getting mighty old because we're pretending that works. We're pretending what we do doesn't matter, while at the same time having an overinflated opinion of their own choices. Nobody wants to look into the symbolism of anything. We do, but, historically, slaves were masked. So it kind of makes me wonder, especially when common sense kind of overrides the narrative.
Yes.
Yes, because we know that they don't work, but yet they're still. Anyway, I remember, Kathy.
No, but-
go ahead. You said something about charity begins at home. That it's
Well,
about
it does begin at home.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your environment. Do what you can. Never mind. It doesn't work to mind someone else's business. It's just never well received. So I don't honestly know why it's so difficult to take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your surroundings. If you're afraid of people that aren't doing what you do, then there's always choices. So maybe one of the choices is to figure out how to get over it, or the other choice is to stay home.
And one of the things that Gaia said is the problem isn't just the destruction of the rainforest or the poisoning of the oceans or the execution of animals for sport. There are enough resources. The problem is the lack of thought that people have for their actions. People just go about their day blindly, just doing what they do without thinking about how their actions have consequences.
Right.
There's a ripple effect, that their actions have consequences, and they need to stop and it's about being more mindful of everything that I think, everything that I eat, every action I take has a ripple effect consequence for someone and
Well, what
for our
about what
future.
we observe as well?
Yes.
I see my daughter's dog who goes outside to eat grass because Max is an American Eskimo. He's a little high-strung. And the grass doesn't help anymore. Well, I'll tell you, when I'm out walking in the morning, I'm usually out early, 6:15, 6:30, sometimes 6 o'clock. Do you ever remember clouds being in perfect rows or checkerboard pattern?
Yeah.
No.
That's something. It's not just pretty clouds. In fact, there's nothing pretty about it. So when grass used to be something that our pets could go outside and eat, for example, to settle their stomach, I have to wonder what's that doing to them.
Yeah, you were talking about laying and looking at clouds. I remember it was always like, can you see the squirrel in the cloud? Oh, I see a
Right.
bunny
Yeah.
rabbit.
Right.
We were seeing innocent shapes, and now you're right. It's all these streaks, the chemtrails.
Yeah.
Just call it what it is. I mean,
Sure.
this is all about toxic stuff to our planet. And yes, we see it in the clouds, but it filters down. And it filters down onto us and our our animals and our plants.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
my husband pointed out, why are we had such a lush rainy season this year, but some of the leaves just dried up on the tree. And it was weird.
Yep.
It's like, what?
Yep.
It's almost like there was a chemical on, and we live in the country.
Right.
And it was almost like there was a chemical or something was bothering the leaves of the tree.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And who knows what we're getting, what we're being
Right. What are we breathing?
What are we breathing?
What are we
Well,
touching when we're touching it?
And eating,
And eating.
because if it's on the grass, it's certainly on the plants, and it's on, it gets into the water. Everything has a ripple effect, and it doesn't go away because you pretend that's not happening.
And so we have to live as clean as we can, and that's what she said. Just be mindful. Be mindful that there are a lot of people. A comment that she makes is any change you in one place will have more than one consequence. It's also about consequences. There are those who realize that their actions are actively harmful and do them anyway. There are those who witness this and do nothing to prevent it. That level of indifference is what causes more damage than anything else. And I have to say that the indifference is what I'm seeing. There are people who are completely blind. There are people who know and they just don't care. And that breaks my heart.
I also feel that the indifference stems on some level from how can one individual make a difference? They see the problem as being so overwhelming that they give themselves an excuse of, well, what I do or don't do isn't going to have any consequences. And that is the aspect or the piece that we really need to help people to understand that, yes, even your thoughts make a difference. Your thoughts are so powerful. If you're thinking I can make a difference, you're going to make a difference.
Right.
Yes.
So I really do see in this awakening, we keep talking about that more and more people are awakening. I do believe that this is an aspect that is happening, that people are awakening to their own power, to their own possibilities, to their own strength that they can bring to helping humanity, to helping Mother Gaia, to helping save our planet, to all aspects, and bringing us back to a place where we're living with compassion, with understanding, and not like Kathy, you were talking about earlier. Well, if you don't agree with me, change this dictatorial. I want everyone to think the same. I want everyone to mimic the same philosophy, and any discourse is just simply not even discussed now. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see what has happened in our world in the last 2 years, especially.
And there are people who I just wanted to go back. I just wanted to go back.
Right.
You know what?
Right.
It's not going back because the back was not very good. Once you start looking at that was an illusion.
Exactly.
There have been so many horrible things that have happened for so long. I was recently listening to the greatest genocide ever was the genocide of the healers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Over a several year period, like several hundred years, burned at the stake, hung at the witch.
Right.
All these different the healers, because they were, oh my God, we can't have somebody that can help another person, heaven forbid.
Right.
So there have been so many genocides, and we're going through yet another one. And people need to wake up. How can we allow this to happen again? We've got to do what we can, even if it's the power of prayer, which is the power of prayer is incredible.
Right.
But we have to we can't just put our head in the sand anymore.
No, we can't. This vehicle has no reverse. And, it's, I wish I paid more attention in history, but I remembered what people, people danced or whatever when Rome burned. And that's kind of, I'm not going to focus on that because that's not pleasant. And, I'm just here for a good time. And maybe that's the choice those people made for their life. But if they think they can't make a difference, I guess they've never heard a story about the first fireman through the door when somebody's house was on fire. Somebody has to be first. Somebody has to take something upon themselves, if you've ever been rescued from anything, aren't you happy that that person took the action that they did?
Correct.
Yes.
It didn't really make any difference how many were behind them, did it?
Right. And there are those that are so courageous, and I see these people and how they are being attempted to be destroyed, and they have the tenacity, the determination, and God, if we do nothing else, pray for them. Send positive energy to them, because there are some really negative energies out there that are causing destruction or amplifying the destruction, shall we say. So if you feel like I can't do anything, pray. Get in touch with something that you can do in your own power, because if we each do a little tiny bit, we will shift this to the positive. If we get stuck in fear and I can't do this and I wish and poor me, it's not going to help anything.
Correct.
No, it isn't.
Correct.
It isn't. And, I think if we're going to give our listeners homework, maybe it would be a good idea for them to look up the word gaslighting, because what you see is actually what's going on, not what you're being told is going on.
Right. Right.
That's a very good idea, Kathy. Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of false narrative out there. And I used to be the type of person that just trusted everybody and got burned by a lot of people. And now I question everything. Just like I was going to play a different song earlier, and it just is like, okay, it was by Disney. I don't want to play that song, because Disney was not who we think he was.
Right.
And yet Michael Jackson, who got gaslighted as being negative, his music, if you listen to the songs from his last few years of life, they were about calling attention to what is going on in our world. And so I want to celebrate the people who are stepping up.
Correct.
And shift our energy from those who've taken advantage for so long.
Well, if you've ever been at a slumber party, it's the first people that wake up and disturb the others that get in trouble, right?
That's true.
That is very true. I hadn't looked at it that way before.
Kathy always has a new way of looking at things. I call them Kathyisms. I love it. Thank you for that, Kathy. You're right.
That's very true.
It's the first person through the gate that gets in trouble. The others are all just following along, But at least they're supporting. And we've got to be, even if we're followers right now, let's follow the people that are in this from the heart, that are wanting to make a difference.
Yes.
Yes, it's essential.
Yes. So let's pick another topic. Kathy, you pick one. There's so many.
There are.
Yeah, there are so many. One of it is that humans have to realize they have a place in and on this world, but they're not more superior in many ways than to the other creatures living on it. We all have our place. All of us with the carbon and zero carbon. We can't go to zero carbon because everything will die. Okay, so this whole what would you call it? Climate change summit that's going on in Scotland, and
that's scary.
And all the smartest people in the world fly their gas guzzling jets and party on humongous yachts. While, us rank and file worker ants wait to hear what genius ideas are going to come of that. It's ridiculous. Do people actually think, and then, we're yelled at and told it's science. Well, science tells you that there's a balance here and everything has to live in this symbiotic relationship. So no, we're not going to go to zero carbon. And when you realize, there's that synergy of all things, why do people think this is a good idea? I don't understand.
And there's so much hypocrisy too, in the way it's presented, and in what the actual actions are of those who are presenting their ideas.
Yes.
And
that, one of the simple things are the masks on the ground.
Right.
People will take their mask off and throw it on the ground. The irony is just
Yeah.
Yeah, if this is such a contagious disease, and we're just going to throw their masks everywhere, that is not they should be put in a hazmat place.
Right.
And then what happens is the animals they try and eat it, or they get strangled by it, or whatever.
Right.
It is causing even more trouble. And then the other part of that is these people who have all this money, all these resources. Look at over the past period of time, all the people who've lost their jobs, who've lost their income, the small businesses that have closed down, but these other big businesses how many millionaires, billionaires have been made through
Billionaires.
this? Billionaires.
Yeah, billionaires.
And so for me, Amazon, excuse me, I'm going to shop local for Christmas. I'm going to give my kids, here, go see if you can find this at a local place. This is, I would like this. See where you can find it, because we've got to support our local people. Because Amazon is just, and these other big box places, they're just making the upper echelon more and more rich. That divide. This is all about the serf class,
right,
and the elites. And people need to wake up to this.
Right. The other facet is consumption, and it was evidenced by the, great toilet paper famine. But, do you need all the toilet paper? Can you just buy what you need?
To have your garage full of toilet paper rolls.
Right, exactly.
This is going to be the new scrolls
it's the
for the future.
Yeah.
I've been looking at some of the history of Bible history, and it was all on scrolls.
Right.
So we're going to be using those that have hoarded the toilet paper. That's going to be the new scrolls.
The scrolls.
Isn't that funny? Can you imagine people in the future finding that?
Oh, yeah.
What wisdom existed here? Well, none, actually.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So yes, we need to, if even one of these people could step forward, and she points that out. Gaia points that out, that there are the top 1% has all the money. There are plenty of resources for around the world for everybody. If they were just to take all of the money from all of their private jets and yachts and everything, their show of affluence, how would that go to feed and help the people?
Right.
Right.
And to deal with our wave of new population of homelessness across, I'm sure across the planet, but definitely across the United States. Just leaving California, having driven through parts of Oakland and San Francisco, it's so disheartening and sad to see all of the tent cities. And, people who are set there, and this is all they can do right now to survive. They lost their apartments or their homes through lack of being able to pay their mortgages, and no one is caring for them.
And speaking of hypocrisy, and yet this administration is going to give $450,000 to the illegal immigrants.
Right.
There's people, wake up.
Right.
Can you not see that this is not about illness? This is about power, control, and servitude. They're taking away from the middle class to create a serf class. It is just unconscionable. So let's shift the energy.
Let's shift. Let's go to
Kathy. I'm sorry. Wait, Kathy, do you have a Kathyism?
Yes. Because people that live in, humongous mansions, way more than they need, are shaming you and I for not doing more. That's a hypocrisy that just makes me shake my head.
Very true.
And this whole thing about the intelligence, these people that are the arrogance and the intelligence, they're the people who have been programmed the most, unfortunately. They have done nothing more than memorize. So some of us who are not really good at memorizing things, we're the free thinkers, which is why we question everything, because I was never good at just parrot back. And now I used to be embarrassed by it, and now I'm like, wow, maybe that's what makes me actually use those brain cells, to think for myself and not just parrot back what somebody else mandates.
That's a very good point, because when you're able to verbatim give back what you've read in a book or on a test or say it. Those are not your thoughts.
No.
That is something you have been taught.
Exactly.
And if you do it well and you're parroting back, you do well in that class.
You get
and
an
you
A
get
plus.
an A. Exactly. And I, like you, and I guess Kathy as well, did not do well at that.
I didn't.
That was
I had
very
to go
hard.
to a meeting once when my daughter was little and in middle school because she's like we are. And, I remember looking at the teacher saying, how do I teach my daughter to behave in school when all of the things that you force her to do here are the things that are going to make her or punish her for doing basically here are the things that are going to make her successful in life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Being a free thinker, thinking for yourself, making your own decisions, learning to, kind of reason your way through things.
Right. The critical aspect.
Successful.
Critical
critical
aspect
thinking.
of thinking. Critical thinking. Exactly.
I remember my son once when he was very young. He loved to draw. He loved to draw, and I wanted him to take an art class. He's like, no, because they'll just teach me how they want me to draw. I want to draw the way I want to draw. I'm like, I can't argue with that. He was right. Oh my gosh, many times was he ever right. I learned so much from my children. So one of the things that she talked about was the food web instead of a food chain, that it's an interconnected web. Because the question we asked is, should we be vegetarian? And she said, well, if you guys are all vegetarian, you guys are going to starve because you need to, it's a balance. But if you, it's all in your intention and how you are grateful for. If you're going to eat an animal, use all parts of it. If you're going to use, and also if you're going to raise crops, don't deplete your soil. Mm-hmm. Do things with mindfulness and care and gratitude instead of just basically, I wanted to use the word raping, just taking advantage of. And we know how to do this, but it's turned into do it for profit. It's
Correct.
about the profit instead of sustaining my family, myself, my home, my friends, communal, and doing it with respect.
Which is why when you explain and say, I'm buying from my local farms, I'm buying local, that is huge, because that is an example of all of us making a change and making a difference. Because as consumers, that's where our power comes, as consumers with our dollar. And where we put our dollar makes a big difference. So when we're supporting the local farmers who treat our land with respect, rotate their crops, aren't putting tons of pesticides and fertilizers on the ground in order to just make a profit and just have it be that they don't care what they're doing, which is what the big corporations do. They just go in and if they just keep throwing more into the soil when they're not rotating their crops or taking care of the land and being in gratitude for everything that Mother Gaia gives us. This comes from Mother Gaia. Everything that grows on the planet, all of the animals. The Native Americans really had it. They understood this aspect. They always, any animal that they hunted, they were careful not to overhunt any herd because they were thinking about their children's children. They were thinking about the future for them. And there was, like you said, they would use every part of the animal. They would also give great gratitude to that spirit of the animal for its life.
You know, when I was a child, we used to say grace before every meal.
Right.
Now, granted, it was like, okay, we got to say it through. We don't even think it. We just, and okay, now we can eat. But the original intent, the original practice was just to take a moment and be grateful for something. And that's where we started this. Our group started at 8 at 8. 8 in the morning, 8 at night, 1 to 8 minutes. Just be grateful for something because the energy of gratitude lifts your energy. And by you lifting your energy, you're shifting the vibration around the world. So if we can each take a moment to be thankful for whatever we put into our mouth. Take a moment to be thankful for the kitty that purrs on our lap.
Yeah.
For the puppy that's sitting there, for their little energy. Just shift the energy to gratitude instead of how much, how fast, and then slow it down. Because this whole how much, how fast mindset that we've had for so long is causing us to have physical illnesses.
Yes.
Yes. And to realize, to really grasp the concept that thoughts are things. Look around the room you're in. Everything there started with a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So police your thoughts, and, gratitude is one of the things that raises the vibration not only of ourselves, but of the space around us and ultimately the planet.
Mm-hmm. And that's where when people get into fear thought or the woulda, shoulda, coulda thoughts, then they're ruminating over non-gratitude, shall we say, and
Yes.
therefore their energy is being lowered. If we can just stop and be mindful and shift the energy, even for a moment, it makes a difference. And like we were talking about sending smiles before, sending a prayer for someone else. It's the same if you send anger towards someone, they will feel it. If you send love, light, or and I use the word love not like, passionate love, but just the energy from your heart, just send them a little beam of, I hope you feel better. I hope, just an uplift. Or ask an angel or Mother Gaia to send their energy. Because as we send, we receive.
Exactly. And that's the thing I think that we forget, that the other side of the coin of sending anger, sending fear, sending shame, sending guilt, is that we have also lowered our own vibration to the level of that.
Yep. And by that lowering vibration, one of the things that Gaia said is humans have a lazy streak in them. They will do things in the simplest possible way to serve themselves without any thought of the consequence of their action. So we're here in this right now, this in the indifference and the indulgent society where I want it now. And the stuff that we're doing now has long-term ramifications. This whole,
Yes.
So we've got people telling us what to think, and we just, there's this concept of obey. I
never got the hang of that word.
I would add a word to the concept of obey. I would blindly obey. There is truly a concept to blindly obey without applying our critical thinking and asking ourselves, or just asking the questions, why? Why is this being imposed? What's the reason behind it? And I believe once you do start asking those questions, then it's a lot easier to open your eyes and look at other aspects and see hidden motivations behind the commands of obey.
That's the discernment piece.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I know that the concept of the church is you must obey. And now we're finding out a lot of interesting satanic stuff about the Pope, and other, we've learned for a long time about the pedophile rings within the priesthood that just got covered over. And now as we're starting to explore more, we're realizing that it really is more insidious than we ever imagined. And
it is. And people don't realize that's one of the starts at home things. 35 years ago when Wes and I got married, I told the priest, Wes was kind of shocked, but we were at a meeting before marriage, and I said, you have to take obey out of the vows. You're going to have to cross that out. And, Wes looks at me, the priest looks at me. I said, I assure you that's never going to happen. I just take it out.
I will honor and respect, but don't count on me for obey.
Obey. Not going to happen.
Yeah. Kathy, that's great.
And what we have to do is obey our wise mind, our higher power, our our sincere desire to give good and to bring light and love. Obey that in our hearts, not what we're told to do by somebody else that's wanting to control us. But what one of our friends have said in the past, we have to do what we can't not do. I love that. We have a passion to share from our hearts. That's what we have to obey, is what comes from our hearts.
That makes a lot of sense.
Perfect sense.
Really. I also like the other aspect that when going through different sections of Mother Gaia's messages was helping us to ground, like Kathy, you were talking about as a child, laying right on the ground. When I was sick, I made a point of spending at least 10 minutes outside without any shoes on, without any rubber soles blocking, because the spirit of Mother Gaia and the essence of the grounding can't come through one's shoes. So when you're out hiking, which is wonderful, and walking, you're not actually grounding as much as when you're barefoot or sitting on the ground. Now we're coming into winter here, which is a little bit more challenging to
But we
do
could
that.
sit on a rock.
But we can sit on a rock.
Sit on
We can hug a tree.
Absolutely.
And,
Right up against a tree.
Right up against a tree. And all of that brings such a healing into our physical bodies, all parts of our bodies. But it does start at the physical realm. And I think that aspect is either not known or lost on many people. And it would be lovely in the homework listing that we had earlier, add that to the homework check for people to go hug a tree.
Exactly. Or really connect with the bird and feel with the bird. I know that sounds very, woo-woo, but
it doesn't, because you want to engage all the senses.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I know when Mother Gaia came through, we were in session together. A group of us get together and send love, light, and into the world. And she came through kind of like with her hands on her hips saying, hey, kids, if Mama ain't happy, no, you're not calling on me. You are of my, she was really emphatic.
Right.
And so since then, we've been bringing her love, light energy up and really feeling grounded. A lot of spiritual people have this longing to go home, go back to the planet wherever they come from. Truly, I can't tell you how many times I have felt that, and other people have felt that. However, we are delegates here, feet on the ground, and we definitely need to relate to Mother Gaia because we have agreed to be here. So when we can really connect with her, we can feel home here. Home is where the heart is, they say, right?
Correct.
So our heart is here. We're here on a mission to help save humanity, because Mother Gaia, she made the comment that I'm not going to extinguish humanity, but I'm not going to do a whole lot to save them either.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Because we're the bad kids. We're not, I say we collectively.
Right.
And she said, there are good among you, but I sweep with a broad stroke. I've got hurricanes, I've got tornadoes. I'm reacting. I'm a reactive force. And when I feel the pain and the anger, I react, I act out, and I'm just
right.
So we've got to connect with her, send her love, send her calm.
And she sends it back. What she sends back is so much greater than what we send.
Exactly.
And so yes, she is a reactive force. And how she reacts to that, sending her love and connecting, she's just happy that you connected.
Right.
And what she sends back to you dispels that fear that's being broadcast.
Right.
And back to what you were just saying, Lois, about that these souls who are here now, we're the delegates. We all have to remind ourselves we wanted to be here. Our souls chose this time period. Sometimes that's a little hard to remember when we're in the midst of all of this chaos and aspects of our lives that it feels everything is upside down or backwards and forwards. But when I do remember, as a soul, I chose to be here at this moment, at this time. have a mission, and when you connect to all aspects that were given, especially in your messages in the book, to help remind us what is our wiser mind, what is our higher aspect of our soul telling us that we should be doing right now. And then it's a lot easier to let go of all the illusion that we're living in and come to the reality of why we're here. And my gift that I was given through these books to connect with Mother Gaia has been invaluable for me on my personal journey, and hopefully helping to have others understand how wonderful living on a planet that has its own spirit.
Yeah.
Because that's a gift. That is
absolutely.
such a gift.
It absolutely
And
is.
it's such a generous spirit.
And
so many people use crystals and like to use crystals.
Right.
But, they love the vibrations that they get from them. Where do you think they came from?
Right.
Who are they a gift from?
And a lot of people think, well, who am I? Who am I? And I love, love, love the story of the truck driver who ran for the Senate against this long-term incumbent and won. And he spent
In New
pennies
Jersey.
on the dollar,
Exactly.
and he won. And I'm like, yes. So no matter how small you are,
Correct.
do what's called in your heart to do, because we will make a difference.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's the end of the
Oh my
hour.
gosh.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And
Love
we
you
are
too.
listening to Lois, Inspiring Hope with Lois and Kathy and Christine at WSMN 1590.3. Until next week, guys, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Thank you all.